Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode
Sweet 16
of the podcast known as The Life I'm Lovin'. I am your host, Vincent. Here with me today and every day is my co-hostess with the mostest, DJ Skizzy Scarlett. Fantastic. This week went by really fast. Work has been busy, so that has allowed me to really hone in, eyes on the prize, gotta make that money. Who would have thought that if you work and don't look at your phone or other things, the shift will go by quicker? Really weird, but it works. So I was using that this week, and here we are already Friday morning, ready to get one more shift in, one more 8-hour day, and then we are into that weekend. And who doesn't love a good weekend? And this week is also a good week because this is episode Sweet 16. The number 16 has multiple meanings to me. I'm assuming it means a good amount of things to other people as well. First of all, Sweet 16, solid show. I didn't get one. Mom, we'll talk about that later. Basketball. NCAA college, you have the Sweet 16, which is the round of 16 in March. You don't really want to get bounced in the round of Sweet 16, but you know what? We're grateful for being there, right? 16 also brings a couple of memories for me. When I turned 16, it meant a few things. First of all, got my license and lucky enough to get a truck that same year. And so that's when the 98 Ford F-150 came into my life. Quite a people's car. We used it as a beacon of sorts. After school, we would all hang out in the back of my truck. We would sit in the bed of my truck and just conversate about how too cool for school we were. That summer, going from sophomore to junior year, is arguably my favorite high school summer. And it wasn't because of drinking or smoking, because I wasn't doing any of that at the time. It was the freedom, the ability to be able to go. Granted, I would tell my parents that I'm leaving, of course, but we had a lot more freedom that we were not used to. And so me and my friends would meet up at school and we would do a bunch of random fun stuff. Some of them not as legal as others, still very fun. We would hop the fence to the high school, not gonna say which high school because, maybe the cops are still looking for us. But we would hop the fence to the high school and we would go swimming in the pool like 10, 11 p.m. at night. We would play 007. If you guys don't know what 007 is, there are teams of two, multiple teams of two, and there are 1 to 2 cars, I believe. And there's a team in the car, or cars. Each team that is on foot has to run. There's a point A and a point B. The people who are on foot have a certain amount of time to get a head start, and then the cars start going, and they have to find the other teams. And if the cars find the other teams, then they win. If one of the teams gets to point B, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, the team on foot takes the dub. So that was a really fun experience. FYI, I'm playing fetch with Scarlett at the moment. She's got this new toy that was given to us by our neighbor. Their little puppy passed on at the age of 14, so they had some extra goodies, and we were very lucky enough to be able to experience time with the 14-year-old puppy. The owners knew Scarlett and gave her one of their puppy's toys. So we're very grateful for that. We're very grateful to have met that other doggy. Tuffy, 14 years old. You're a beautiful little puppy dog. May we see you in the next life. But going back to 16, we move on to 2016, which was also a very life-changing year for me. That year is when I broke my leg one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever been a part of. It's also one of the more traumatic experiences that people who were there have been a part of, because my leg did not look very nice. That same year, I moved up to San Francisco, started going to college up there, and that also was a very life-changing experience. The broken leg, I had to rely on other people, wasn't used to that. It was my first really serious injury that I've ever had. And then moving up north, I'd never been more than a couple weeks away from my house, and let alone going to school up there. I was living with a roommate, his mother, their dogs. Nice transition, but not what I'm used to. Completely different lifestyle I was trying to get acclimated to. So 16 has a special place in my heart. I don't think I'm going to make it to 3016, but if I do, I'm sure that'll also be a very special moment in my life. But the number 16 really does some work kicking life into high gear in one way or another. Another 16 is 16 weeks equals 4 months. And so I had my starter episode, my first episode of the podcast, and then I had another episode called 2 Months Later. Try to do it in that SpongeBob voice, which is why I named the episode that way, for those of you who didn't know. This episode, I wanted to do a recap, full recap. Every 2 months, I think it's nice to do a recap. In 2 months from now, it's going to be 6 months in, I may do a recap, and then I'll move on to probably a year from now. So these aren't going to be as reoccurring as they have been, but I do think it's nice to reflect on where you've been. Honestly, the past 4 months have gone by very, very quickly. I can't believe we're already a third of the way into the year, but you know, it is what it is. We keep going. Every day is 24 hours, and we just gotta enjoy the days that we have, of course, and let them go as they go. And for those of you who can hear this, I am still on location, recording on location. Yes, that's right, we are in my living room. Once again, we were there last week as well. I just like the vibes of the living room. It's a lot more airy. I can hear the little boys outside, little chirp chirp action, spring be springing, you know? I just feel a lot more free in here than I do in my office. My office is still under construction. We still need to add some details in there to ensure that I am in my podcasting element. For now, chilling on the couch. Scarlett, you're about to take a nap, aren't you? In the middle of recording? That's fine. You look adorable anyway. So before I started recording this episode, I listened to my first episode, which is called The Man Behind the Pod, and I listened to my 8th episode, which is called 2 Months Later. I thought that was a lot better. What do you think, Scarlett? Oh, I forgot, you're asleep. And I just wanted to reflect on the mental, physical progress, what changes have been made, what stayed the same, what I liked, what I didn't like, how progress has gotten me to here, and then how I'm going to progress from here into the future. You want to reflect on the past, you want to embrace the present, and look towards the future. Right? That sounded cool. So this episode is going to be all about that. Progress is progress, people. No matter how long or little time has passed, as long as you keep going day by day, as long as you are putting in the effort, as long as you are trying, that's what's important. Don't look at, well, I'm not here. Well, I'm not here. Well, my goal was to get here, and I'm only here. Well, where were you when you wanted to start that goal? So that's what this is all about. It's accepting that you're taking it one day at a time. You'll get there. You might not be there yet, but it's great to acknowledge where you were versus where you are now. About 2 hours ago, I listened to my first episode for the first time, probably since the day it aired, which I think is nuts. This episode was called The Man Behind the Pod. It was just a basic overview of what I'm doing here, what Scarlett's doing here, what I'm about, who I am, and what the plan is for the pod moving forward. So a couple cons that I noticed in the first episode that I'm really glad we've really worked on. Scarlett, you didn't say hello in our first episode. She's starting to fall asleep. She was really standoffish. She didn't really say much throughout the episode. She was whining. I think she was tired of hearing me talk for so long. She wasn't used to that. So I'm really glad that we were able to bring more out of you. You got comfortable in front of the microphone. Now you're talking at 100 words a minute, unless you get sleepy after 5 minutes of fetch, which is happening right now. But I'm really glad that you are really expressing yourself more. So thank you very much for your self-expression throughout these episodes, Scarlett. Bark. JK, that was me. I thought I could imitate you, but you're one of a kind little lady. Another con, my editing. I would like to think that I've gotten a lot better at this whole editing thing. In high school, I was always the man on the street. I was in front of the camera when I did video production with my homeboys and my homegirls back in senior year. I didn't like editing. To me, it was so tedious, and I was so to the millisecond, like, oh, this has to change. This doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. And it was overwhelming to me because I started overanalyzing every second, because I technically could, because there's this system in front of me that's allowing me to really play a second, then rewind that second, and then take it out or put it in. And it was too much for me at the time. And now I feel like it's just me talking. There's no video, there's no background music that I have to add on, there's no sound effects that I have to add on. It's just one recording that I am editing, that I'm cutting out certain uhs, ums, ands, and so, I's, I was, repetition, filler words, those types of deals. That first episode was full of them. I would like to believe that episode 15 has a lot less, and episode 16 is going to have a lot less than that. Even though I just said oh, and I multiple times right now, but I'm not going to edit those out because those were done on purpose. Couple pros that I'm really proud of. You can hear the emotion. That was one thing that I've really tried to keep throughout my episodes, is just trying to not be as monotoned, trying to be the exact opposite. I don't want every word to be a different tone, but I want to keep my emotions right there with my voice. As I feel, I want you to hear. And I feel like that's something that I have tried my best to keep doing, and I think has been continuously getting better. I'm getting more okay with feeling and saying at the same time. And I noticed that I was doing that in episode 1, so I would like to believe I've gotten better at that as well. One of the things I did mention in that first episode is voice acting. Voice acting is something that is still very much on my radar. It is my primary goal. One of the reasons my office is under construction is because there is a closet in there, and I would love to make that into a voiceover recording studio at some point in my life. I do follow a couple of voice actors on Instagram. Some of them do these classes, these voiceover classes. They are very enticing. I keep them on my timeline, on my feed. I stay following them so that one day I'm just gonna be like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's give it a shot. And that's why I keep it around me. if you keep the things that you want to do but haven't gotten to yet in front of you, then chances are you're more likely to say screw it and try it out instead of being like, okay, I want to do this, but never putting it in your line of sight again, never putting it in your thought process again. Out of sight, out of mind is literally the quote that I think of when I think of something where, yeah, I want to do this, but then it's nowhere in my life. So why would it come back to me and be like, oh yeah, I forgot I wanted to do that. So that's why I follow these people. And one of them actually wrote an ebook that I have downloaded. It is on my Safari browser, and I keep it as my main page. I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't even read the title yet. Reading, never been an interest of mine. I'm a visual learner, and I like to talk, but reading has always been something that just doesn't entice me as much. And I think it's simply because it just looks boring. Like literally looks boring. Like it's just a page with words on it. It just looks boring. I guess I can't stress that enough. But I know it's necessary. I know it builds your knowledge, builds character, and I know reading is great. So at some point, that's why I'm keeping it on my main page. Like I said before, I want to keep it in my line of sight. So one day, if I have some time, hey, let's read, shall we? Let's sit down. Let's get our reading glasses on. Glass of nice chamomile tea. A little nightlight on, you know? Bring my glasses down close to my nose so I can read like I'm looking down, like, oh, exquisite. You know, one of those times it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be very excited because the pod heard it first. My first episode, I also mentioned that I love to party. That's still a fact. Love to party. Granted, my partying days have changed. I've gone from adioses to red wine. I've gone from going out at 10 p.m. to getting in bed by 9:30. Do I still party? Yes. Has my partying changed over the years? Yes. Does that make me any less cool, hip, and happening? Of course not. One thing I thought that was really odd is I ended my first episode saying bye-bye. Bye-bye. I did that in my first episode. Really glad that I changed that to take care. A lot more personal, a lot less bubbly, literally. And Take Care is a great song by Drake and Rihanna. I really recommend you listen to it. But that was one thing I noticed. I was like, why did I say bye-bye at the end? It makes me sound like I'm talking to a baby. But I'm gonna be honest, I thought the first episode was exactly that. I think it was rough around the edges, as all my episodes are in their own way, of course. I'm glad I got better at editing. I'm glad I don't say bye-bye anymore at the end of my podcasts. I do think that I encompassed what I was trying to do and who I am very well within the 28 minute time frame that I gave myself to record the episode and dish it out to you guys. It was, I believe, one of my shortest episodes that I've done throughout this process. But again, it was my first episode. I'm giving myself that credit, but honestly, I don't think it was too bad. Again, editing was an issue. Scarlett, you got a lot more open with the people since that first episode, which I'm very proud of. And so now we move on to episode 8, which is called 2 months later. And in this episode, I spoke about what caused me to start recording in the first place. And one thing I had noticed in this episode that I didn't do in my first episode was I started incorporating the how's my week, a little intro. And I do like the idea of incorporating some sort of regular segment that we do every week, every episode. How's my week? To me, it's getting a little stale though. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Some weeks I have a lot to talk about. Some weeks have gone better than others. And I'm not gonna say better like, oh, this week sucked, but there just wasn't a lot to talk about this week. You know, I got home, we ate dinner, watched some television, went to bed, went to work, repeat for 3-4 days straight, and here we are with the weekend. I like the idea of incorporating an opening segment. What that segment is, I do feel like I need to work on. It does need to be some sort of current event, maybe like what was on my feed this week, what are the things that were popping up this week. I do know that this weekend, starting Thursday, is the NFL draft, which is going to be really cool. I did see before I started recording that we as in the Philadelphia Eagles NFL football team, just extended our star wide receiver A.J. Brown's contract to have him through 2029, I believe, which is stellar. But I think maybe a current events opening segment might be better than how's my week going, because, you know, like this episode, oh, my week went by fast, work was fast, it was busy, this and that. I feel like I'm starting to get repetitive in that way. For those listening, if you have better ideas, better segments that we can maybe incorporate into this podcast, please let me know. How's my week is a good starting point. It is not my ending point. I would love to start doing something a little more jazzy for my opening segment. One thing I did enjoy listening to on both episodes was talking about my interests. I think that talking about things that I love, talking about things that you love, talking about the people, places that you love, that I love, really brings out more expression and emotion than when you're talking about things that you're simply not into. It's like making a speech about soap when you drive race cars for a living. Put 2 and 2 together, you get fish. It's not gonna work. You need to talk about things you love. You need to be a part of things you love. That is something I try my absolute best to do, is talking about things that I love, hopefully you love. If you don't love it, it's fine. You might learn to love it. I don't think the things that I love are bad things. I think they're niche things. They're things that specific people are into. But the niches are growing. Come on, Pokemon is like a global icon. Pikachu, Ash, come on. Those are the people. What else am I into? The Philadelphia Eagles, football, great American pastime. Cartoons, everyone's watched a cartoon in their life. Don't tell me you've never watched a cartoon in your life. And guaranteed there's at least one cartoon that everyone on planet Earth enjoys. And if you are that one person who has never enjoyed a cartoon in their life, reach out. Because I want to see how your mind works. Not to judge you, but I'm very intrigued. Because that sounds like it would be a really fun mind to really dive into. Be like, well, what are the things that put a smile on your face? You know? Maybe that's someone who likes books more than I do. I don't know. But that sounds like a fun conversation to have. Episode 8, I mentioned Alex Hormozi a lot. He is a ripped, bearded entrepreneur. I follow him on Instagram. His name's Alex Hormozi. Look him up. I'm not an entrepreneur. There's a lot of things that he does that I simply am not too into. One thing I do appreciate is the man is consistent. The man has a routine The man sticks to that routine. The way he looks, the way he presents himself, his self-awareness, his income, his ability to present the things that he's into. What he's doing is working, and I can't knock the guy, because if I was like that, I'd probably get somewhere relevant to where he is. But the things that he says does work on a day-to-day basis for everybody. Like today's quote. He does a daily quote that I think is really cool. And he's actually really good at talking about really famous quotes and his take on them, which I really enjoy. And honestly, I've kind of been utilizing that and using that in my own right. And I'm probably going to do it right now. JK. I'm totally going to do it right now. So Alex Hormozy posted on Instagram today's quote. Everything worth doing is hard. And the more worth doing it is, the greater the payoff, the greater the hardship. That's right. You know, one thing that I'll talk about when I refer to work is the pros and cons of it being busy. More files, more work. Gross. More files, more money, more overtime. The shift will go by faster because busy versus it being slow, being on your phone and checking the time every 5 to 10 minutes. Like, wow, it's only been 5 minutes. Pros and cons. A busy day is not an easy day, but it does bring more money. And it does bring the end of the shift much quicker. And it's hard. It is hard. It's hard to stay focused for that long, and I get it. Because I was doing that today. I would work for a couple hours, and then I would just have to get up, walk around, take a lap around the house real quick. I was working from home today, you know. Scarlett will come up to me, I'll give her a hug, I'll put my head to her head, forehead style, and we'll just kind of sit there and we'll just be like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Give me like a minute or two break to just feel Scarlett's energy and be like, I am doing this for her, and then get back into the zone and get to it. I've been trying to incorporate that type of mentality in my work days because I enjoy freedom. I enjoy not feeling tied to something I don't want to be tied to. Work is for the income. It is. It's for a better life for my family, for my friends, for Scarlett, for Jen. If I didn't need the income, then I wouldn't be working. It's really that simple, at least in the job that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm trying to take that mentality. It's like, oh my gosh, today is going to be such a busy day. Yes, but we're making that bread, we're making that cheddar, and the end of the shift is going to come by so much quicker. And that's the mentality that I'm trying to go into the shift. If I'm expecting it to be an easier day, like if I've set myself up the day before for that day to be easy, I'm telling myself in the morning on my walks with Scarlett, if it gets busy, don't freak out. Embrace it. If it gets busy, the shift will go by faster. You'll be done faster. Don't freak out if it gets busy. Because I freak out if it gets busy. If my mind is already in the zone where, oh, this is going to be a lazy day. I know that I did so much yesterday that there's no possible way that it's going to be busy today. And then stuff hits the fan, things start scattering all over the place, and it gets really, really busy. And I'm frazzled. I'm out here like Jen's hair in humid weather. It's just all frizzy all over the place. Sorry, Jen, but you mentioned it a couple days ago. Now it was in my head that happened, so my bad. But I love you. But keep your composure. Even though it's an easy day, expect difficulty all the time, right? What's the quote? Expect the best, but anticipate the worst. right? Something like that, where it's like, okay, this is going to be easy, this is going to be easy, this is going to be easy. But if it gets hard, be ready for it, because you never know what's coming your way. So that's something I've been trying to incorporate into my day-to-day life, specifically at work. Honestly, with the podcast too. I feel like sometimes I'm in a lull where, maybe that work shift is busier than others, so I have to work more overtime on the day that I record, or the day that I try to plan what I'm going to record, and then that frazzles me up a bit, because then I have less time to plan my recording or to actually record. And that's also something where it's like, okay, just take it, accept it, move on. Work on what you can. Focus on what you can do. You can stay up a couple more hours so you can sleep during the weekend. It needs to be done sometimes. That's just the give and take of what life presents to you. Alex also had a really good quote yesterday as well. And this quote says, "Your most valuable asset isn't your time. It's your attention. A man with time and distractions will always lose to the man with a deadline and a singular focus." And when I think of this quote, I think of my phone. I think my phone is such an easy, arm's length distraction all the time. Like I was referencing before, at work, your phone is right there. What's going on Instagram? What's going on Twitter? Not gonna call it X. What's going on Pokemon Go? I'll check my phone so often throughout the day sometimes when I just don't feel like working. But again, I notice that when I don't push my phone away, but I just keep my head up and working, the shift goes by so much quicker. And I am one of those people who will get off work and maybe chill on their phone for maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. I'm not going to say that I'm on my phone for an hour, but I'm sure I've done it before, and if I'm the only one, then wow, I'm a horrible person. But I feel like there's people who just sit on their phones. There's a lot to do on your phones. You can play games, you can check your emails, you can read blogs, things like that. There's a lot to do on your little phone here. But it is a distraction. And it does distract you from what's going on around you. And that's why on my walks with Scarlett, I try to keep my phone in my pocket so I can breathe in the air, I can see the elements, I can see the green grass, the trees, I can see the animals, the birds, the squirrels doing their thing. Really enjoy nature while I'm out there so that I can walk back in, go upstairs, go into my office, and be away from nature for a few hours, and then go back out and do it again on my lunch break, come back in, go into my office, be away from nature, then go back out and enjoy it again. Fresh air, man. Nothing better than fresh air. But distractions are all over the place. And I am working on that. That is something I do want to work on, is minimal phone time, maximum working on myself time. Even if that's not, working out or working on the podcast or work in general, just not using the phone. Having more conversations with Jen, with Scarlett. Cooking a nice meal that may take a little longer than what you're used to, but you're not using your phone for a half an hour. So that time that you're not on your phone goes to time that you could be putting into a home-cooked meal, things of that nature. So Alex, what he does for work, I'm not too into, but his methods, what he believes in, those are things that I'm like, yes, this guy's onto something here. Alex Hormozi, give him a shot. He's someone that really helped me get into podcasting, and even today, he's still a big help in just me wanting to better myself. So I do recommend, find someone that really speaks to you in not a literal way, but like something where you read something or see something like, you know what? I can get jiggy with that. Another pro that I heard in episode 8 was that I mentioned that I was afraid of being in the public eye, putting my friends and family in the public eye. I was afraid of that. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too afraid of it anymore. Now, the bigger the crowd that I end up being in front of, if the podcast takes off, I might be afraid at that time, but the idea of anticipating being afraid is not as in my mind as it was before. One of the reasons I am not afraid of that anymore is because of the conversations that I've had and the ideas that I've thought about while doing the podcast. You know, I've had people talk to me about wanting to do a podcast of their own, boosting their social media presentation. You know, I've thought about having guests on my podcast, and I've been mentioning this since episode 1, but I really think it would be cool not just to talk about their lives, but to have them talk about what they want to do and what they are doing, which allows my platform to boost their platform. And then we're becoming the best versions of ourselves together. And I think that's so cool, because that's what I'm all about. I'm always here to lift up others when they need it. I do talk a big game, and I know I've been mentioning interviews for a while. But the cool thing about me in this headspace as I'm recording this is that I'm still in this headspace, but I'm leaning towards another. And so when I started these episodes, it was, okay, 1 week at a time, get the episodes done. Over time, you'll get better. Understand that some episodes aren't going to be as good as others, and that's fine. It's all about getting them out there. As of today, I'm still in that zone. But I'm looking towards the next zone. And that's going from just get it done to, okay, now how do I get it done well? It's like I've learned to swim, now teach me to do a butterfly stroke. Well, look who's awake. Did you come to join in on the episode? Oh, you heard me mention swimming, and that freaked you out, huh? You don't like to swim. It's okay. We won't put you in the water. The issue with moving on from just get it done to how do I get it done well is time and effort. We only have 24 hours in a day, every day. That doesn't change. That's something that's constant. But getting it done takes this amount of time. Getting it done well takes that same amount of time and some. And now I have to start thinking, okay, well, what part of my day do I take that time from to put into the podcast? And that's something that I'm naturally hesitant about, simply because I like my life. And I think that's what's keeping me in the just get it done phase. But I'm sniffing it. Like, how do I get more listeners? How do I boost my content creation? How do I make a better podcast? Video podcasts. Start posting on YouTube. Getting interviews scheduled. Different music. Start working on music. Start working on sound effects. one thing I thought about last night, shower thought style, was getting a soundboard so that when I speak or say something, I can get a sound that just kind of pops in and it just kind of works with where I'm going with the podcast. I have so many thoughts that I really want to use, but it takes time and it takes money and it takes effort, and I'm reluctant to jump into that phase. But this is worth it to me. This podcast is going to bring so much positivity in so many different ways for myself, for Scarlett, for Jen, for my family, for my friends. Hopefully. I'm hoping it will. I'm anticipating that it will, because that's where I want to go with it, so that's where it should go. And that's when my mind is like, okay, jump off the ledge and start. Just go all in. Start working hard. Or just stay where you're at. Be content. Be happy. But know that you could do more. You're choosing not to. And I think that's also the hard part for me as well, is I know I could do more, but I'm choosing not to. Which is a good thing because it's my choice. Bad thing because I know I can do more. And that comes back to my episode last week where I mentioned that I am okay with being a B+, A- student, because that's all the effort I need to put into that. Just repetition and going year by year, becoming that B+, A- student. And now getting to year 28 and I found something that I want to get better at, that I want to get an A+ at. There's only 3 things that I've noticed that I've really, really been like, I don't want to stop getting better at this. And that's being a great friend, being a great husband, and being great at doing what I love. The podcast is just a stepping stone. I want to do more with it in time. But that also tells me, okay, well, why aren't you going full throttle on this bad boy? I like where I'm at. I don't want to spend so much time on this podcast, but I do. Right? I do. Scarlett, sometimes I understand that you pretty much have to do everything that we say, but you don't have to have these life choices. You don't have to decide what's going to allow yourself to be the best version of you possible. You don't have to think about supporting your family and getting a job. I wonder if I was ever a dog in a past life. And that's why I have this mentality of like, nah, I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I'm cool laying on the couch, sleeping 16 hours a day, getting treats, getting belly rubs. Cool with that. I don't know, Bubs. Call Scarlett Bubs. But I do know this. For those of you who don't know, the Spotify for Podcasters app is where I do my distribution and my editing. I believe starting in June, they're going to take away the editing feature, so it's just going to be distribution. So I'm thinking that's the point where I take the hiatus and I spend some time really, really getting into season 2. Honestly, I have thoughts to make this podcast so much better than it is now. And I'm so excited to do it. but I know it's going to take effort. But I know that I'm leaning towards that. So if I don't do a really epic season 2, I want you guys to just, not a hard slap on the face, but like a nice little, hey man, season 2 is worse than season 1. If I go downhill and season 2 is worse than season 1, wow, I need to seriously reevaluate. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I'm really building it up, aren't I? One more con from episode 8, 2 months later, is I haven't really pondered any merch. One of my best buddies, Ed, mentioned that he wanted a hat, the Life I'm Lovin' hat. But I haven't really thought about it yet. I think the content is where my mind is at, but then again, season 2 might just be full throttle. Interviews, better music, better editing, merch. I don't know. I think that sounds really neat. I think we can make it happen. Huh, Scarlett? She's awake, but you don't feel like chit-chatting, huh? You're still a little tired. I think you just want me to stop talking so that you can go to sleep. But I think the time's ticking and the countdown is coming to an end. And I think that's where all this energy is coming from. That's where all this, season 2 is going to be it. Then again, I don't know if I'm even going to do a season 2. I might just keep rolling season 1 until the cows come home. Joke's on you guys. I don't own any cows, so this season 1 might just go on forever until I buy a cow and it comes home. On that note, I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope this episode brought you some insight as to where I've been, where I am, where I want to go. Hopefully this gives you a little insight into what you're going through, and is the passion there? Are you proud of where you are versus where you've been? And are you excited for where you're going? I'm excited. Scarlett just sighed at me, but I know you're excited too. You got a lot to work on. With that said, let's go out how we always go out. I want you guys to enjoy some great food, be around great company, listen to great music, be around amazing animals, be in a funky, fresh environment, and please continue to love the life you're living. I know I am. Scarlett, do you love the life you're living? I'm glad you do. Take care.